Hey everyone, the numbers are in for the Panama City Beach Gulfront condo market for the first quarter of 2022. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. And this update is going to be a little bit different. I have a lot of people asking me questions about where the market may be headed. So rather than diving into your individual complex this month, I'm going to give you an overview of the Gulfront market. I know a lot of you are getting the mailers from us with some specific data for your building. A little bit of an overview here so you can see what people are thinking about expecting for the rest of 2022. And I want to kind of dig deep into the numbers a little bit to give you, make it a little more tangible to see what exactly has been happening in the market to help make some sense of where prices may be headed. So first off, let's start with my favorite chart. For those of you who've seen these videos before, you know I'm a big fan of this. I haven't explained this in depth in a while, so I want to go ahead and do that for you now for those of you who have not seen it. First of all, the red line represents the number of condos that are for sale at any given point on the market. And we're starting right about the beginning of the pandemic. This picks up in April of 2020. So pretty obviously from May of 2020, if you follow this down all the way through about April of 2021, so a full year, if you were trying to buy a condo and you missed out on a multiple offer situation, or you couldn't find something you liked and were still shopping the next month, you had fewer choices. And then you had fewer choices again, and you had fewer choices again, which bottomed out April of last year. May, June, July, August, we started to quickly see that accelerate, and the number of units become available really went pretty quick in the other direction. And some of us thought maybe this is the end of this hot condo market run. But part of that is the seasonality of things. It's very difficult to show condos in the season when we have such good rental seasons. Buyers who really, really wanted to buy just couldn't get in and really evaluate what they were thinking about, which when there are already so few condos to choose from anyway, really made it difficult. And it's something we're anticipating happening again now. So for those of you thinking about selling in 2022, either you better get on it like right now or plan on waiting until later in the year, which maybe there's a little more risk there. We'll talk about that in a minute. But popping back here, July 2021 to August 2021, we saw after this big increase in supply, it dropped back down. January 2022 bottomed out again. It's come up a little bit since then, but take a look at this months of inventory number because the black line, which is also very important to understand, is the amount of sales that are happening. And look at this black line cross over this red line here. This means that here, these months, February, March, April, May of last year, we actually had more sales than units that were even available on the market. That can't last for very long, but it happened. And you're seeing that happen again. Look at December, January, February, March of this year. We're actually seeing more condo sales happening than units that came out or on the market. That's where this months of inventory comes in. For those of you who haven't, I've already said this a few times this morning, so I should be fresh. Months of inventory, for those of you who are not familiar with this, the idea of months of inventory comes from just analyzing the process and how long it takes to sell something. So theoretically in real estate, 6 months-ish or so is a neutral market. And the idea means someone's going to sell something, they put it up for sale, start the marketing process, showings, negotiating offers, getting to contract, closing those contracts. That whole entire process normally, traditionally, would take about 6 months or so in a normal neutral market. Anytime things are taking longer than that, 7, 8, 9 months or more, you're in a very sluggish market. That's when you get into buyer market territory. That's when you see price decreases. When you're less than 6 months, that means things are happening faster. Some part of that process is happening faster. The closing process could be happening faster because you could be having more cash sales that don't take as long to close as financing. Obviously, if units are going under contract faster, if it doesn't take 2, 3, 4 months to get a contract, if it takes 2, 3, 4 days or 2, 3, 4 hours, then the whole process shrinks. So look back at this number again. As it sits right now, January, we were at 0.78. February, we were at 1.05. March, we were at 0.97. Theoretically, what that means is for the month of March, that if no other condo came up for sale and we just sold condos at the rate that the demand in the market is currently there, we would sell out of the entire market in less than a month. We would sell out in 0.97 months, which means that whole process, putting it up for sale, showings, negotiating, closing, the whole thing is taking on average less than 1 month right now. I can't stress enough about how hot that is. That's the average in the market. That's not just the nicest condo on the beach that's priced the best. That's everything. That's how hot the market is. It's very, very heavily investor driven, of course, here, because most people buying the condos here live somewhere else. There are very, very few people who live here. A lot of investors very excited about the condo market for whatever reason, whether you're going to use it 2 or 3 times a year and rent it out, whether you're going to use it even a lot of the year but still rent it out. It's still a very, very heavily investor-driven market that we have. So a couple numbers so you can see what's happened. Again, to stress just how extreme this market is. We had 1% more condos available for sale in the first quarter of 2022 than we did last year. We had actually 18% more new listings come to the market. I bet most of that is driven by a huge uptick in offerings over at the shores of Panama. The shores of Panama have seen a high number of units. At one point, I think there were 22 or 26 that came on the market in one day. I would say that's probably what's accounted for moving that up 18% there. The number of units that have gone under contract this year are down 15%, and the numbers that have sold are down 10%. Part of that is to the amount of supply. We have fewer condos available for sale. Numbers are going to be down somewhat. And that's also comparing it, keep in mind, that's comparing it to what was a very, very hot 2021. Interestingly enough, even though we have 10% fewer sales, our sold volume was up 22%. If you look right here. And the most incredible thing, the average sales price for a condo in Panama City Beach last year was up 36%. The median sales price was up 47%. Those numbers are pretty incredible if you just stop and think about that. Again, average sales price and median sales price have as much to do with where people are spending their money as much as how much prices have increased. But think about that. The average sales price of a condo last year went up 36%, 12 months. 47% was the median sales price, meaning the average, taking into account, well, you look up median, you'll be able, Google will tell you better than I can explain it. So it's important. Think about if the returns you're trying to make in your retirement portfolio in any given year or any investment in general, and look at that number. It's pretty incredible. So where can we be going from there after a year of up 36% on average? The average of all 7 forecasts, what you're looking at here is a home price forecast for 2022. This comes from a content service for real estate professionals nationally. The average of these 7 forecasts I'm getting ready to go through with you are 6.1% on average of where people think the housing market forecast will go for 2022, which also includes the condos, housing, anything with housing, multifamily, everything. CoreLogic, which is a company that's a big data aggregator, is bullish at 9.6%. Fannie Mae is pushing it up at 7.6%. HPES is 6.3%. Freddie Mac thinks 6.2%. MBA thinks 5.1%. NAR, National Association of Realtors, thinks 5.1% also. And Zelman and Associates thinks it's 3%. I was a little interested to see that the National Association of Realtors, we're the ones selling houses and condos all the time, saying they're one of the more bearish ones about the market and where it might be headed. I think that's a little bit of a telling sign. I think it's just interesting to make sure and look at who is making these projections as what the numbers actually are. Another thing to point out, though, that even the least optimistic, the most pessimistic people in this group still think that the market will appreciate 3 to 5% this year. Not quite the 36-7% we saw in the condo market last year. So the rate of price appreciation is expected to start to come down somewhat. Disregard the title for this. I don't like it. This is, again, coming from a real estate content provider. And this chart is talking about promising that we're not in a housing bubble. I would never say that. I'm not a soothsayer. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think there are some interesting things to pay attention to. In the 4 years of what they're calling a housing crash on this chart, 2007, 8, 9, and 10, that months of inventory number, remember, was at 9.6, 9.4, 7.3, and 8.5. That's nationally, meaning that we had well over the traditional average neutral market of 5-6 months of inventory. Look at where we are now nationally in housing. 3.7 months of inventory for 2018, 3 months for 2019, 1.9 for 2020, 1.8 for 2021. And remember, in the condo market, we're less than a month. So we still have all kinds of supply issues. We have plenty of demand. All of that very, very different than what happened the last time. Also not shown on that chart is really the amount of equity that is in real estate right now compared to those years that were shown on that, but that's a discussion for a different time. A couple of things to point out here. This is a chart showing you where the condo market activity happened in the first quarter. I'm going to go through it and just touch on a few things. Maybe just pause it if you really want to dig into this. A couple of things to notice. Of the 324 closings that we had, 157 of those were cash. 145 of those were conventional financing, although conventional is probably mislabeled. This is coming out of our MLS system, so it's not that conventional financing was probably being done on these condos. It's more like there was some bank financing, but it was for resort condotel type projects or products. I'm sorry. But just about 50% of the deals we're seeing done are cash, which can help move prices up a lot further because there aren't constraints on appraisals. In general, look at these numbers. Not surprising. 178 of the 324 sales were done in less than 30 days. Another 32 took 31 to 60 days, and 23 were 61 to 90 days. 91 to 120 days were 21 of the sales. Surprisingly, 70 were over 120 days. I'd want to look into that a little more to see why. Again, also, if you want to look specifically at where people are spending the money, you can see that 1 unit sold under $180,000, 8 units sold under $200,000, 9 units sold between $200,000 and $250,000, 10 units sold between $250,000 and $300,000. 50 units sold between $300,000 and $399,000, 74 units sold between $400,000 and $499,000, and 110 units, almost a third of the sales are happening at $500,000 and over. And those are on 2 bedrooms. If you're looking at a 3-bedroom unit, 6 of them happened. You had to be in the 400s. 49 of those were 500 and over. If you wanted one of the few 4 bedrooms that we have, those are all over $500,000. Not surprising. So a couple of things to take away, last couple of concepts to think about from a timing standpoint, especially if you're thinking about selling. Buyers are very, very excited about beach season. We usually have a little bit of a lull in March. We have kind of a lot of buyer activity January, February. The month of March, generally, if anybody with families, there's probably a spring break in there. You're sort of pausing, doing some business. Some people stay away from Panama City Beach still in the month of March. We usually see a pickup from now until about end of May. Condo buyers that are excited about beach season and want to use something right away, want to rent something right away, know, hey, I've got to get something under contract now so I can at least catch most of the season, the heavy rental season. Those buyers are very, very emotional about their purchase. It's almost like planning a trip late. You almost might pay a little bit more to get something because you don't have much choice. Same thing's happening in the condo market right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see the condo market slow down a bit from a transaction standpoint, like we did last year. It's very difficult to show units in the summertime. It's not that buyers don't want to still buy a condo. It's just the process becomes very difficult, and they would just rather wait 60 or 90 days to come back to the beach when it's a little easier to see these units. However, when they do come back, even though they still want to make a purchase, beach season is now we're on the backside of beach season. You don't have that same type of feeling that you do coming into March, April, that spring idea of the weather warming up and those kinds of things. So buyers sometimes can be a little more patient in the off season. We do sometimes see the supply come back up a little bit through the summertime into the off season. So it'll be very interesting this year to see if we have that same curve I showed you on the chart of supply running up a little bit, and then the buyers coming back in mass and buying. Again, obviously the condo market here is very investor driven. One of the things, a couple of the sources that I follow are watching in the housing market in general, have to do with investor sentiment. I'm hearing stories like some big groups working to buy 75 homes per month in Phoenix, 75 homes per month in Denver, 75 homes per month in Austin. Think about that. Big groups coming in wanting to buy that amount of homes because they believe in the investment and they believe in the return when compared to other asset classes they could potentially invest in. And investors are still very, very excited and very bullish on housing in general. Same thing here. When you look at the returns you can get on condos, you still have a lot of people very excited about the idea of what they can do. At some point, pricing either gets so high or rental rates can't keep up with that pricing, and something may have to give there. The thing, few of the sources I follow again are watching, when do investors decide that housing isn't the place to be and there's something else that's more lucrative, something else that's more interesting? Right now there isn't, and so there's such a focus. So one of the statistics I heard yesterday was there was a 9% increase in sales year over year last year, and you could attribute that 9% increase directly to investors coming in the market, not people looking for a place to live, not people looking for a real place for their families to enjoy a condo, but investors. And at some point when investors pull out of the market is where you could see some things fluctuate and change. For now in our area, and I haven't even talked about the idea of what's new and what's coming, we're going to, by the time you see this, it may be too late, but the new Margaritaville is being released, not the 55 and up community, but the one right next to Bidawee Beach. If you want to know about that, let me know. I've sent some emails out about it. I'm going to be at the grand opening a little later this afternoon. So back to selling and pricing and where we may be headed. If we think we're going to have still some appreciation this year, but maybe less, obviously less than probably we've had, then from a selling standpoint, it's still a very, very excellent time to sell. If you're thinking about it from an investment standpoint, your portfolio, a good time to take cash off the table potentially through 2022 before things went in another direction. If you're still watching, you're a data nerd, and it's 19 minutes into just numbers. And so I applaud you if you're still watching. But anyway, I wanted to get into this time. I don't usually go this deep into all this stuff, but I wanted to get into some data for you to see real numbers about trying to make some sense of where we've been, how hot we were, and where things may be headed. So I hope this helps. Again, I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. If you know anybody that would want more information about this, I mean, share this video with them, subscribe to our YouTube channel, get on our email mailing list. I do this once a week, not full videos. I do the videos once a month, usually a lot shorter for your specific project. We'll get back to those next month. But once a week, I send out a very specific email to try to update people on the market because things can move fast sometimes. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to 20 minutes. See you next time.